Succession Part 2. 10 years later, a new crisis erupted. 24 by 1509, Bayezid II was old and ill. Since his death seemed imminent, the contest to succeed him began when he was still on the throne. What was apparently the first move among his heirs came in 1509, when one of his sons, Korkut, fled from Antalya, where he was governor, to Egypt, most probably to seek the support of the Mamluk Sultan in the impending battle for succession. He returned a year later, but again, presumably with an eye to the throne, disobeyed his father in moving from Antalya to Manisa, a princely residence closer to the capital. Korkut's move to Manisa coincided with the violent rebellion beginning near Antalya, of the Shiite sectary, Shah Kulu, who defeated Korkut's troops and all the provincial forces which the Sultan sent against the insurgents. The revolt had humiliated Korkut, but provided an opportunity for his brother Ahmed, the governor of Amasya. In June 1511, Bayezid sent an army under the effective command of the Grand Vizier Hadim Ali Pasha, a supporter of Ahmed, and the nominal command of Ahmed himself. Ahmed's presence at the head of an army distinguished him as the favorite son to succeed, even though the death of the Grand Vizier in the final battle with Shah Kulu removed a powerful supporter. The death, shortly afterwards, of his brother Shaheen Shah, the governor of Konya, removed another obstacle to Ahmed's succession. During these events, Bayezid's younger son, Salim, was also preparing for a conflict with his brothers. In 1510, he wrote to his father, complaining of his governorship in the remote Black Sea province of Trabzon, and demanding an alternative in Rumelia. His letters also complained of plots to bring Ahmed to the throne. When Bayezid refused his request, he left Trabzon without authorization, and crossed the Black Sea to the Crimea, where, he told Bayezid's envoy, he would bring the Khan of the Crimea to his cause, and establish a marriage relationship with him and Apas. Refusing Bayezid's offer of a governorship in Anatolia, he sailed to Kilia in Moldavia with his own followers and Tatar troops, clearly hoping to seize the throne. With the Khan's assistance, Bayezid, meanwhile, ordered the governors in Rumelia to prepare a force to encounter Salim, but, before the armies met, Bayezid's envoys persuaded the prince to turn back, by offering him the governorship of Silistra on the Danube, with permission to make raids into Hungary. This provided Salim with an opportunity. He retired to Stara Zagora and collected an army, but, instead of attacking Hungary, he marched towards Istanbul, encountering Bayezid's forces not far from the city. On this occasion, Bayezid was victorious, leaving Salim with no choice but to return to the Crimea and ask for his father's forgiveness. Salim's withdrawal was Ahmed's opportunity. With the encouragement of his father and the new Grand Vizier, Hersekzade Ahmed Pasha, he marched to Istanbul, with the evident hope of succeeding to the throne during his father's lifetime, and thereby justifying Salim's complaint that Ahmed's appointment to command the army in Anatolia was an indication that he was Bayezid's chosen successor. An Ottoman Sultan, however, needed the support of the Janissary corps, and this Ahmed could not win. In September 1511, as Ahmed approached the Bosphorus, the Janissaries rebelled on Salim's behalf. Ahmed's failure to defeat and pursue the rebels in Anatolia had lost both him and his father the military support on which the Sultanate depended. A group of Janissaries was later to appear before Bayezid, and openly declare, "You are finished. We need a sultan, and so we have made Lord Salim sultan. The throne and the realm are his." In these circumstances, Ahmed did not dare to cross the straits. Instead, he returned to Anatolia and began to act as an independent ruler, issuing decrees and making appointments as though he were sultan. With this, the balance of politics changed. As a rebel, Bayezid could no longer support Ahmed. Instead, he appointed Salim commander of an army to pacify his son. Seeing an opportunity, Salim advanced towards Istanbul. So, too, did his brother, Korkut, arriving there at the end of March 1512, with no troops, but with cash to win the Janissaries to his cause. Korkut's effort to gain the throne failed. Instead, his brother Salim arrived with an army and, with Janissary support, forced his father to abdicate. He ascended the throne in April 1512. Bayezid died shortly afterwards, possibly of poison, while Korkut retired to Manisa. Ahmed did not recognize Salim's sultanate and continued to act as an independent ruler. In July 1512, Salim crossed the straits to Bursa, forcing Ahmed to withdraw to Amasya, and then to cross the eastern border of the empire into Iran. From here, he wrote to Salim, suggesting that they should divide the realm. Salim rejected the suggestion. In February 1513, Ahmed returned to the attack. Salim, meanwhile, had begun systematically to eliminate his rivals. Later in 1512, he executed all Bayezid's grandsons who were resident in Bursa and then, early next year, he sent a force against Korkut in Manisa. When these troops entered Manisa, Korkut had fled. Selim's agents eventually found him in a cave near Antalya, hiding there, presumably, in the hope of escaping to Egypt or Rhodes, as his uncle Jem had done. They took him prisoner, and Selim's chief doorkeeper, Shinan Aga, executed him in March 1513, a few days' journey from Bursa. Ahmed, in the meantime, on his advance westwards, defeated Selim's forces under Bili, the mustachioed, Mehmed Aga and the Governor-General of Anatolia. At the beginning of April, Selim left Istanbul, leaving his son Suleiman to guard the city from the west. On April 15, 1513, he defeated Ahmed at Yenis, and captured the fugitive prince at Izmit, where Shinan Aga put him to death. This was not, however, the end of dynastic bloodletting. Ahmed had left his son, Osman, to guard Amasya in his absence, but when the governor of Sinop attacked the city, Osman fled. Amasya surrendered, and Osman eventually became the captive of the governor. In May 1513, on Selim's orders, he was executed, together with Ahmed's grandson, Mustafa, whose father, Prince Murad, was a fugitive in Iran, and, by now, the only possible challenger to Selim's throne. However, with the execution of Osman, Selim clearly thought his throne to be secure. In 1520, Selim died, leaving a single son, Suleiman, who succeeded him without a contest. By 1550, however, Suleiman was visibly an old man and, in 1552, apparently ailing. A few years later, the Habsburg ambassador, Busbeck, was to comment that he took pains to hide his poor complexion with a coating of white powder, and that it is generally believed that he has an incurable ulcer or gangrene in his leg and opos. Given their father's apparent infirmity, it was inevitable that his sons would begin plotting the succession, and inevitable too, that, given the experience of his grandfather, Suleiman should begin to suspect their intentions. 25 The first victim of his suspicions was Prince Mustafa, his eldest son. In 1553, perhaps in order to squash rumors of his illness, he personally took command of the expedition to Iran. At Irali, before the army had entered the passes through the Taurus Mountains, he summoned Mustafa to his pavilion, and had him executed in his presence. Why Suleiman should have suspected Mustafa in particular is a matter for speculation. Certainly, an undated letter which the prince sent to Ayas Pasha contains strong hints that he was aiming for the sultanate, praise be to God, among the claimants to the inheritance. The capacity and aptitude which is in me, your sincere friend, is manifest to your noble knowledge. Furthermore, his popularity with the Janissaries and other sections of the army meant that, if he attempted a coup, he would probably be successful. It was, after all, the Janissaries that had forced Bayezid to retire and brought Selim to power. Ottoman historians, however, have plausibly attributed Mustafa's end to a conspiracy between Suleiman's wife, Hurrem, their daughter, Myrima, and Myrima's husband, the Grand Vizier, Rustem Pasha. Mustafa was Suleiman's eldest son, by the concubine, Mahidevran. His other sons were by Hurrem, who wanted one of them to succeed to the throne and, to this end, wished to remove Mustafa. Her accomplice in the plot was her son-in-law, Rustem Pasha, whom Ottoman tradition regards as responsible for Mustafa's death. Indeed, an anonymous petition to Suleiman accuses Rustem Pasha of forging a letter from Mustafa to the Shah of Iran, in order to implicate the prince in a charge of plotting with the enemy. It is, therefore, most probable that Hurrem and, through his wife, Myrima, the Grand Vizier plotted Mustafa's downfall, but it was also inevitable that, as Suleiman grew older, his other sons should take measures to secure the succession. Suleiman completed the annihilation of Mustafa's faction by executing first his standard-bearer, his master of the horse, and other office holders in his household, and finally his son. With the death, shortly afterwards, of Hurrem's third son, Jehangir, two princes remained, Selim and Bayezid, both sons of Hurrem. Suleiman at first appeared to favor Selim, taking him with him on the campaign against Iran in 1553-4. Soon afterwards, however, he appointed Bayezid governor of Kütahya, nearer to the capital than Selim's residence at Manisa, a move which seemed to indicate that he favored Bayezid. At this stage, it was probably their mother, Hurrem, who maintained the peace between the princes, and between each of them and their father. After her death in May 1558, the rivalry became more intense. Faced with both princes' attempts to influence factions in Istanbul, and Bayezid's attempts to disrupt essential trade in the area of Selim's Governorship, Suleiman threatened to break all law and precedent by fixing the succession in the female line, and giving the throne to his sister's son, Osman Shah. At the same time, he ordered Selim to transfer to Konya, and Bayezid to Amasya. It was this decision that precipitated a civil war.